It was a noisy afternoon in the school cafeteria, the kind of noise that felt like a constant vibration in the air, forks clinking, trays sliding, students laughing, talking, shouting across tables. It was chaos in the most ordinary way, the kind that made every new student feel invisible. And perhaps that was exactly what Alina wanted: anonymity, silence, the ability to disappear into the background. Until she understood this new world she'd just stepped into. She sat alone at the far corner, near the wide window where light poured in like a soft shield around her. Her dark braids were neatly tied, her uniform crisp but simple, and her lunch was modest, almost too plain for a teenager. She ate slowly, quietly, with her eyes lowered as if the world around her did not exist. Her stillness alone made her stand out. But destiny rarely lets the quiet remain unnoticed. At the center of the cafeteria, surrounded by a cloud of noise and ego, sat Arturo, broad-shouldered, confident, admired by many, feared by even more. He laughed loudly, enjoyed loud stories, and loved the loud attention that followed him everywhere. His group of friends, a cluster of voices echoing him, hung on to every joke he told, every exaggerated tale of how he'd put someone in their place. That day he was retelling with great pride how he scared a younger student the week before. His friends cheered, clapped, shouted his name like he was some sort of hero, and then his eyes drifted toward the window, toward the girl who did not clap, who did not laugh, who did not even look up. "Hey, you!" he shouted across the cafeteria, his voice slicing through the noise. "Yeah, you, the new girl." Why the serious face? "Think you're better than us?" Silence spread slowly, row by row. Heads turned. People leaned forward, phones discreetly lifted, ready to record the next moment. Alina looked up in surprise. A small, timid smile tugged at the corner of her lips. She said nothing. That silence offended him. Arturo stood up with deliberate slowness, the kind of movement a predator makes before pouncing. His friends snickered behind him as he approached her table. He leaned down until his face was inches from hers, a smirk curled on his lips. "What's wrong? You deaf or what?" he muttered. And before she could move, he shoved her shoulder just enough to tip her cup. Juice spilled across the table, down her sleeves and onto the floor. A burst of laughter filled the cafeteria. But Alina did not flinch. She did not cry. She simply looked at him. A look so calm, so quiet, so unsettlingly deep that it seemed to reach past his face and into something buried inside. Him. Her eyes were not angry or afraid. They were still. So still they froze something inside him. Arturo, always the fearless one, stepped back involuntarily as if the ground beneath him had tilted. "What are you looking at?" He stuttered, a tremor in his voice he didn't understand. Alina finally stood. She wiped the juice from her fingers, her movements graceful and slow. "You have no idea," she whispered, "what you've just done." And the lights flickered. The laughter died instantly. The cafeteria dipped into a strange, heavy silence as the lights blinked on again. Arturo was no longer standing tall. He was kneeling, both knees on the ground, hands gripping his head, tears pouring uncontrollably down his cheeks. He cried harder than anyone had ever seen him cry. His face twisted not with pain, but with overwhelming anguish, like he was reliving every hurt he had ever caused someone else. His friends stared, horrified. Phones lowered. Nobody dared to breathe. Alina looked at him with an expression that was neither victory nor pride. It was compassion, deep, sincere compassion. Without another word, she picked up her bag and walked out of the cafeteria as quietly as she had walked in. That day became a legend instantly. No one could explain the lights. No one understood the sudden breakdown. But everyone remembered the moment the school's most feared bully broke down crying in front of a girl who hadn't said more than 10 words. Days passed. The school changed. The hallways were quieter. The mocking laughter that once filled the building vanished. People walked differently, softer, more cautious, almost as if something sacred had passed through the place. Arturo changed the most. Gone was the loud, arrogant leader. In his place sat a pale, quiet boy who kept his head down. He barely spoke, barely ate, and often stared into nothing like he was haunted by something only he could see. Everyone whispered theories. Maybe she cursed him. Maybe she hypnotized him. Maybe she came from a family of shamans or mediums. Nobody knew the truth. One afternoon, when the sky was turning gold and the yard was nearly empty, Arturo found her sitting on a swing at the old playground behind the school. She was looking at the sky as if she could read its secrets. He stood there for a long time before whispering, "I'm sorry." She turned her head slightly, her expression gentle and patient. He swallowed hard, tears already filling his eyes. Do you know why I cried?" he asked. She nodded. "Of course." "I felt everything," he said, voice trembling. "Everything I ever made others feel. Every time I scared someone. Every time I humiliated someone. It all hit me at once. All that pain, years of it." "I didn't know it was that heavy." Alina gave him a soft smile. "It wasn't me who did that to you." He blinked. "Then who?" "You," she said. "You finally heard what others have carried all this time." He collapsed to his knees again. But this time not out of fear, out of understanding. A deep, life-changing understanding. From that day on, Arturo transformed completely. He started apologizing to those he hurt. He carried books for younger students. He spent lunch breaks with kids who sat alone. He helped the janitor after school. His kindness was not dramatic or for attention. It was quiet, steady, sincere. His friends drifted away from him. He didn't mind. He found a new circle. People who knew loneliness, people who valued kindness, people who understood that gentleness was not weakness. But Alina, she was changing too, not in a bad way, but in a way that made people whisper. She seemed more distant, as if she was watching life instead of living it. She smiled often, but her eyes held a wisdom far beyond her age. Some days she seemed tired, almost fragile, as if she had carried something heavy for far too long. And then one morning she didn't come. Not the next day. Not the day after. By the end of the week, the teachers made an announcement. Alina had transferred again to another school, somewhere far away, but no one saw her leave. No one knew who picked her up. The only trace she left behind was a small folded note on her desk, written in handwriting so neat it looked almost like printed letters. Anyone can hear the pain of others if they stop shouting and begin listening. Years went by. Students graduated, moved on, became adults. Yet that note remained pinned to the school's bulletin board, yellowed with age but never removed. It became a symbol of change, of awareness, of compassion. And Arturo? He carried that message in his heart more deeply than anyone. He grew into a man with a calm voice and gentle eyes. He studied psychology, then education. He returned to the same school where he once caused fear. Not as a student, but as a teacher. Every year, on the first day of class, he told his students his story. He told them about a girl with quiet eyes who made him feel the pain he had caused others, so he could learn how to heal instead of harm.